India, with one of the largest available working population and a hub for human resources and development, proves an excellent business opportunity for workforce management. Kronos Incorporated, a US-based multinational workforce management company, helps organizations across a variety of sectors manage their most valued asset, their workforce.
What Kronos is an enterprise application software company. We take software and we turn it into a tool that helps companies effectively manage their workforce, helps make sure that their employees are paid accurately and fairly, helps make sure that companies comply with the various rules that are out there in terms of how people are paid. So that's one dimension, but as importantly, what Kronos does is it helps organizations drive their business outcomes, help them deliver better service, helps organizations drive happier customers, help drive more revenue, more profitability. And that's what we do by using our software to help effectively do that.
The company today boasts a network of clientele across the country and in varying sectors.
So India is, I joined Kronos to set up their business for India. It has been an absolutely fascinating journey. It started as with organizations asking me, James, why don't we explain workforce management? To today, leading companies drawing significant benefits in how they have been able to harness our platform to drive workforce productivity, visibility to their people, optimize costs associated with them, and above all, as I said, impacting the real business outcomes of what they do for the organizations on a daily basis.
The group held a workforce management information exchange program, KronosLive, in Mumbai, which saw many of its clients and experts gather together to exchange ideas on a common platform.
It's very important to us to understand that being a global company is different. We have to be thoughtful and appreciative of different cultures and different practices. We cannot go buy a book off the shelf that describes workforce management rules for India. We have to just get on the ground in these countries and work with you and learn from you and continue to improve and enhance the product. And we're going to continue to do that, because we recognize that it's a big globe, and we know that companies are becoming more global every day, and they want technology to support those global solutions.
Speaking at the event were some of Kronos' oldest customers, sharing their insights on Kronos and the latest trends on workforce management.
The first trend that I see is that whether it is a 50-year-old employee that is working on the shop floor, or next to him is a 26-year-old youth that has just been employed. I think it's becoming extremely important for us to focus on their individualistic needs and yet be able to provide the experience that the employer brand is really promising them. So how well do we know our people, and how can we leverage upon the big data reality in the HR space? Diversity, India's dividend in terms of the youth. We all are really blessed to be in a country which has got abundant of it. In our organization itself, 60% of our workforce is Gen Y. But this Gen Y comes with high aspirations, high expectations, and in order to understand them, we need to be closer to them and be able to relate to their requirements. And if we are able to address some of their needs, it's going to just help us in becoming and helping us to be able to retain them much better.
An organization of big scale, what happens is even a percentage and a half deficiency in imperfect payroll that cost about 15 lakh rupees a month at an average salary of say about 15 to 20,000 rupees. If you have a high trust quotient infrastructure like Kronos, there won't be any dispute around the time and the payrolls, which is a lot of solace on the operation side. The employer is happy, the employee is happy, and there is a lot of dignity on the employees about it. And from the company perspective, where we need to pay, we pay. Where we need not pay, there is no deficiency. So a complete and highly dependable system.
Big data has today become a phenomenon that nobody can escape. Companies looking to adopt workforce management in the system have relied on big data and analytics to make a smoother working environment. The next session sought to explain the relationship between the customer and the employee and a healthy working environment.
What is the aim of quality management? Customer delight. Customer delight. How do you delight a customer? There are two parts, and they both have to work. The first part is in terms of the features of your product or service. The reason I come to you. And the other is freedom from deficiencies. I want a product that has the right features, free from deficiencies. To have the right product features, I have to be proactive with the customer. To free this from deficiencies for my customer, I have to be reactive. So two different styles of management to get customer delight. You need both. Now, you can't have customer delight with unhappy employees. Employee delight precedes customer delight. Can you possibly deliver customer delight with unhappy employees? Employee delight precedes customer delight. Most organizations don't recognize this. How would employees be delighted? When they are in a state of self-control, empowered. When you empower people, they feel good.
If you have the ability to get data and you understand your business, but you don't understand basic statistics, you can get in trouble fast, right? You've heard about you can make data lie. Well, what happens is if you apply that process, you're going to find an example of the data that supports your hypothesis, whether it's right or not, and you're going to go forward with that change, but it may not be the right change that's needed. If you have basic statistical knowledge, you have a better chance of really figuring out what the root cause of the data is. And let me go through what that means. Well, the first thing is, don't try and eat that elephant all at once, right? Try easier problems first. And what do I mean by easier problems? There's two types of models that you can create. There's deterministic models and there's probabilistic models. What's the difference? Deterministic models are models where the same inputs have the same outputs, right? It's repeatable. It's always repeatable. So an example of that might be a fatigue or a compliance, right? If you have a standard like APM Maersk had, a standard around fatigue, if I work this many hours, I know I'm fatigued. I can predict that. I can take a look back, how many hours has somebody worked? What's their schedule? This person is going to be fatigued. Probabilistic is the same set of inputs have a range of outputs. So what's an example of that? Unplanned absence is predicting unplanned absence is a probabilistic model. The second is particular to HR, is understanding the type of data you need to solve that problem. Okay? Demographic problems are much, much easier to solve than behavioral problems. Right? Demographic problems are deterministic. Those are things like, am I doing things by gender? Am I doing things by age, by skill? These are all facts that are fairly easily collected and analyzed, right? It creates a deterministic model. Behavioral models, who's going to be angry? How do people react to certain situations? These are probabilistic models that, again, are tempting to solve, but really hard to get behavioral data. You need a lot of behavioral data to start analyzing this. And then finally, beware of the beginner's traps, right? And what do I mean by that? Well, first is the classic correlation. Two variables may seem to be related, one driving the other, but it's not true. And let me give you an example of what that means. In many cases, we find tenure and overtime are highly correlated, right? So you would think that, oh, is tenure driving overtime, right? One independent variable, one dependent variable. Well, as it turns out, they're correlated, but they're not causal. There's something other driving tenure and overtime to be correlated. In most cases, it's union rules or it's skills, right? Your most tenured people have the most skills, so it's getting the overtime.
We have been with Kronos for last 4 years. We have deployed the solution for our regular employees as well as contract employees. We have about 10,000 employees, close to 10,000 employees, both put together, regular and contractual labor. For both the employees, we are using Kronos systems. What is employee delight? Employee delight comes from the moment an employee enters into the premises and goes out of the premises. So if everything is through, how will you know whether an employee is coming in, going out? How do we rate an employee? So these are all the things of time management, and this Kronos is helping us to do that.
I think we have more than 100 customers in India now, and I think with such large brand names that we have now, I think the future of Kronos in India is pretty bright. Like it will increase with time.
The event culminated with a panel of experts from the industry discussing and deliberating the impact of workforce management in the daily functioning of an organization across several sectors.
So let me start with Kiran and ask him, where do you see Kiran managing in the moment today? What in a hospital or even in general in your HR workplace, do you see employees coming and asking you challenging questions for managing in the moment?
Yeah, managing moment is very relevant as far as healthcare is concerned because we are dealing with lives, right? I'll give you a live example. On a night at about 1 o'clock, we got an emergency cardiac case and the perfusionist who was on duty was taken ill and did not turn up in the last minute. So we required a person immediately to start off this case, and we used the system information to immediately call a person who lives in the hospital close by to just call him and start the case. So in healthcare, to save every life, a specialized skill is required. And to use that skill, to have the information, to know when the person is on duty, not duty, whom you can call and whom you cannot call. Because if somebody is working for more than 12 hours, then obviously if you call them, they'll be half asleep. And if they're not up to the mark in the operation theater, you would lose a life, right? So therefore, whom to call and whom not to call has been a big challenge. And this actually has been helpful in terms of identifying the right resource for the right situation.
What do you think, Rahul? I mean, before reaching there, do you have a data challenge? What do you think? How to reach there?
When you look at productivity, it's all about resource management. Time is one of the most important resources. And it is also important because many of the resources in terms of the material or people, process, they all have a function of time. Time has, its own impact on management of those individual resources also. So put together, if you're trying to relate that how do I maximize out of all the resources I have, it's all about coming to how do I time them.
Coming out to Praveen, where he deals with, maybe a much more knowledgeable workforce, how do you see this? Availability versus what kind of younger generation challenges do you see?
So clearly the availability of workforce, in our kind of business is, very critical. In some ways, our business is, it's a services business, we do BPO. So the people are really the only way that we are delivering services. And running through, over 100 customers, the people that are scheduled on different customers and client processes at different times of the day, week, and so on, is extremely critical. I mean, there's a certain targets to meet, SLAs to meet, certain forecasts that we get based on which that we do our staffing. So the availability of information about your resources in real time is extremely important to ensure that we are able to meet those commitments.
Let me move to Samit. I think he lives in a younger world, trying to innovate a highly engaged workforce. Where do you see today's young worker? Yeah. How does he want to get engaged? As a leader, I keep seeing this instant engagement, instant recognition, instant rejection, instant rebuttal world of this young workforce. And I'm extremely challenged, though I don't count myself on the other side of 50, but still I'm extremely challenged when I deal with the 20-year-olds today. Where do you see Samit?
Nature of the companies that we operate in, it's either 24/7 operations today at the location that you are, or because of the multinational nature of the industry, it ends up being a 24/7 connect. So that has become one of the real requirements that this younger workforce is going to manage. The second one is about, in every engagement survey that we do, we find work-life balance expectation to be really up there. So now these two things are really at different ends of it, right? I mean, one side, we want them to be all the time working or getting to know what's happening and be in control of it, which is really managing every moment. But they also want to live every moment because the work life to this generation is extremely important. So, and the industry also that we belong to has a lot of women in the workforce. And that's very important for people like us because talent is very difficult to get. The highly skilled talent is not easy to find, and we cannot not consider women and returning mothers, etc., etc.
Where do you see Rahul? Yeah, because yours is a very different context. At the same time, younger people are coming into your shop floors, into your offices. So where do you see that?
I see a different kind of a trend. Now, the competitiveness has, changed the way, the way you would hire and the way you would actually, take returns on these resources. Well, earlier you would normally look at skills and qualifications, talking of a couple of decades probably, and put a framework around it, regulate it, and see that you get to see returns onto those resources. But times have changed. Okay, today you need to see not just skills and qualification, but talent, abilities of the talent. Okay, as one of the key factors when you hire a guy. And the reason is because a talent can only help you innovate and actually stay ahead of other competitive players. Now, if you want to nourish that component, okay, you can't just live on a regulation piece. You need to deregulate. You need to make it much more freer for this entire talent component, so that it could kind of come out of its own and actually deliver the expectations you're setting for this talent.
Now, what's your thought when you look at the technology backing some of these dimensions to manage things more in real time, more in the moment? Where do you see technology headed, be it social media or other dimensions?
Now the technology has been drastically changed. You talk about access given to the people at home, or managing with the mobile devices or Blackberries, and then people are really pushing the data into a central repository, so that in one click of a button you can find a lot of data wherein you can manage the things sitting remotely. That is one aspect of it. And second aspect of it, like when you bring all the data from Excel sheets or any of the other things and bringing it to one desk, so you can have dashboards created and you can see the workforce, how they are managing, and you can even bring the skill sets of the employees who can be managed in case if somebody is not available at that point in time. So that becomes very, gives a different kind of perspective, wherein you can manage the things without the person being there. Or someone else can also manage the show when the person is not available. So knowledge management kind of thing is very important these days. And knowing the employee's primary roles and the employee can be, what all he can manage, the secondary role. And capturing those information in the system and giving a job to him or her makes sense.
What Kronos can bring to the table straight off is a real visibility to people at a very granular level for him to clearly see what's going on. Also, a framework of consistent policy experience and management. So, and how do you know when an employee is not engaged? Is only by really knowing him at closer quarters. So that's the second dimension. How do you really drive a customer experiences differently with people? You don't have to micromanage every employee, but you can manage by exception. And that's something which Kronos enables wonderfully.